some person's form of poison is some person's form of medicine. We have to discern how we're operating with these technologies to be able to experience 1,000 different people's lives in a span of 15, 20 minutes. We don't know exactly what that's doing to us. We don't know what that's doing to our soul, our journey, our immune system, our epigenetic factors. We don't know. We can postulate. I think Bruce Lipton broke that down pretty well in The Biology of Belief about technology and some of these things, which just came out of nowhere and just, changed the entire landscape of how we are doing things. I think it gets very, very sketchy when you have children getting sucked into, that metaverse or that alternate reality. They're not given the opportunity to be exercising faculties that are extremely necessary for becoming human being. Some of those faculties are survival skills. Some of those faculties are empathy. I always found it to be extremely important that every child is taught where food is coming from. In fact, shown how to grow food. But with social media, we seem to get sucked into the escapism behavior as well, which is why I really love your content and a lot of other people's content that is showing up, because it's not something that you are providing so someone can falsely escape their current reality. In fact, it's the opposite. And that's something that I take very serious. I will not participate in the lies and the shadow of escapism. So if you come to my profile and you come to what I put out there, it's not to just get rid of your reality. In fact, it's the opposite. It's putting you right back into your body and making you think. We have to be very careful with what we're doing. And social media was supposed to be the antithesis of mainstream media, when in fact, social media has now become mainstream media.
Yeah.
I would say the same directives that control mainstream media have made its way into the social landscape. It's very similar, like cryptocurrencies and things of that nature. They've been infiltrated. So we have to practice discernment. We got to be careful, because energy exchanges are real. Whether you're meeting someone, for coffee or at a gathering, or staring at them on this electronic device and feeling they're conscious. It's very interesting. We soak up all that data. We soak up all that information. We get it from our auditory file, we get it from our visual, and those things embed into the fabric of our lives. And I always wonder, I was like, if I wasn't being absorbed with all these different ideas and concepts and thoughts and things like that, how much more free will would I have every single day to get closer and closer to whatever it is that I want to achieve in this life? It's very fascinating. And it's a paradox that I have to work through, because part of my reality is being on social media, and I'm part of that very nature of paradoxical life. It takes evaluation, it takes review. And again, it goes back to anthroposophy, right? Which is the wisdom of a human being. It's really taking into account how things are affecting you. And what is it about a certain thing that is creating a repetitive action where you keep coming back to it? Is this something that's creating a balance, or is this something that has become another form of addiction or another drug, another dopamine hit? And that's something that most people don't really think about. But we have to get honest with ourselves. I think clearing your social media, clearing your browser, clearing your friends list, really doing a forensic audit on what you're doing on there is critical for the next 12 months of your life.
Well, I don't think a lot of us even take the time to sit with that level of responsibility for what we're consuming, because it's almost like so much of our consumption is unconscious now. It's so passive. And because I think the switch here is that the algorithm is determining through so many different inputs and mechanisms what is going to be the thing that's going to keep us on the platform. But formerly, social media was something we just followed people and we just got the content of the people we followed, so we could kind of check in and check out. But as they started to see things like how the like button impacts, I'm very cautiously, I don't even know that I'm optimistic. I think I'm just cautious about the movement forward of AI and things like Chat GPT or whatever it's called, because you kind of look at these things and, I asked it a question. I just wanted to see, like, is this thing biased? And I asked about vaccines. And I was like, oh my God, I didn't even get the vaccine right, like what kind it was. But it was like, yes, incredible, like just so pro. It was like they had just taken a marketing message from CNN or something and just like input it into this thing that combs tons of data and is supposed to give an objective. But I could already see this slant. And I just see that so much algorithmically. And we now know through things that have come out, like the Twitter files, just how much of what is being shaped in our, like essentially whoever controls media controls society.
Yeah, totally.
And I don't know, I've felt that the more technology in my life actually makes me feel more anxious. And so there's like something about moving out of my body. And I know you have this intersection where you really think a lot about biology and physiology and illness and wellness and all that stuff. And I'm curious what you think about this intersection of AI and epigenetics. If we created this, does that mean our biology in some way can also use it as a healing mechanism? You know, like
I know
I don't
exactly
know.
what you're saying. Yeah, I this is a really interesting conversation to be had, and I'm glad you and I are doing this because I think you can hold space for this, and it can allow us to go into the depths. This was a conversation that I've been having for the last 10, 15 years. So again, not to keep going back to Rudolph Steiner,
It
which is
is his
his
birthday.
birthday.
So I
So
mean,
let's
yeah, let's
let's
party it up.
let's give him some love. You know, Rudolph Steiner predicted 100 years ago that today we're going to be entering what he called the center point of the Ahrimanic impulse. Ahriman is the deity of materialism. He's the demon of materialism, science, government, technology, corporatocracy, social security number. You're a material mechanistic being. There's no spirit. It's straight, it's bones, it's calcium, it's into the earth. That's it. And he said that if we don't shake off that impulse, that in the next 20 years, we're going to enter something called the eighth sphere, which is a very dystopic reality, completely disconnected from nature, disconnected from our ancestors, disconnected from purpose. It's just going to be straight craziest level of materialism. And if you look at the trajectory that we're on, we're kind of going in that direction with
Feels like we might be there almost,
we
you
might
know?
already be there, but imagine 20 years from now, right? With that same velocity, because we're having generations losing this. We've forgotten what we've forgotten, our connection to our past, our connection to our mother, all of these things. And so AI, my belief, so Steiner believes that Ahriman, which is a Persian deity, by the way, actually incarnates in human form in the 21st century. My take is that incarnation is through AI, and AI merges with human being and creates AI human beings just through their own perspective. And you can see that on just how much our lives are already dictated around the technology, right?
Yeah.
And technology is sold to us for what? For convenience, for protection, making things easier. When this entire time, technology seems to be a big Trojan horse for something that we can't account for and we can't see. And we're so caught up in the ego of being this technological, pioneers, that we have no idea what we're robbing ourselves for tomorrow, for today, and all these things. The AI is real. It's here. We have to be very, very careful with it. And we all have to have a level of discernment on how we operate with it and what we're prepared to do and not do. I personally don't want no part of it. Just energetically through my coding,
Same.
it doesn't sit with me at all. I remember 2-3 months ago, everyone was all of a sudden getting enamored by getting this AI picture of them online. I think
Oh,
you
I saw
remember.
that. Yeah.
I was the first person, someone at my stature was the first person that spoke out against it. I was very, very keen on a high level of discernment looking at that whole situation. And I actually did a whole podcast with Paul Chek on that. I looked through the fine print of that entire thing, and you're basically signing over your entire signature of your face for future technologies that haven't even existed. And they own the rights to that. And that's a
Wow.
very, very dark order. And they dangled that carrot by the opposite influence or force, opposite of Ahriman, which is the Luciferic impulse. which is the beauty, the bearer of light, the savior. And I saw all the same spiritual people run headfirst into that whole trap. It was unbelievable watching that happen, unfold in front of us. It was like we predicted this whole thing. And a lot of people, after some thought, they're like, wait a second, what did I just do? And so we got to be careful, because technology and AI and all these things, Chat GTP or whatever, they're shiny. It's like this dangling this forbidden fruit, take you back to Adam and Eve, right? And we got to be very careful. At the end of the day, rebuilding our faculties, understanding who we are, what our purpose is, understanding what our strengths and weaknesses are, very important. Building out friendships and bonds, brothers and sisters coming together, uniting, not coming from a place of poverty, not coming from a place of scarcity mentality, clear communications, practicing clear levels of love in their relationships. These are fundamental to us getting through whatever this challenge is. Without those things, there's no way of holding on, because that energy is going to take a percentage of humanity with them. That's a fact. Steiner said a third of the population by this year will be zombies. And what he meant by that was they won't be fully incarnated into their body. Their soul is going to be spliced. I feel like there's accuracy to that.
Yeah, agreed.